evening, everybody, to this nice talk with John Kennedy O'Connor. He's a long-time friend of San Marino RTV. He wrote the official history of the Eurovision Song Contest, committed by the EBU. Not only from 2012 and to 2018, he's been our anchorman. He explained, he told us the Eurovision Song Contest, presenting all the clips, all the video clips of the participating country. That was some time ago. It's been some time you're not here in San Marino, John.
It has. I think it's been 5 years, but all of those years was so much fun working with you and everybody here at RTV. It was wonderful to discover this great nation. It was great fun.
Well, great is not the proper word, as we are the only microstate taking part in Eurovision.
These days, yes, of course, Monaco was in the contest many years ago, and then, of course, they won the contest, and Luxembourg, another small country. But yes, San Marino is now standing alone as the tiny microstate.
And I tell you, it's not an easy role to play. What have you been doing during these 5 years?
Well, I live in California, but I moved from the Bay Area up to the north part of the state. I now live in a city called Eureka, and I now work as a news anchorman for an online news organization. I was working for NBC, I was working for CBS for a while. So now I'm very much involved in news rather than entertainment.
And what about Eurovision? Has your feelings toward the contest changed throughout these years?
Yes, I think they have. I don't feel the passion for it I used to. I feel it's got too big, it's got too self-interested. It sort of only exists for itself now. And I think in many ways it's a good thing that it's become much more international and much more encompassing, much more egalitarian. But at the same time, it's too big to sort of understand. And I think the emphasis is now, it always was about performance, but the emphasis is now only on the performance. I think the musical aspect of the contest is being lost.
So you're saying that the TV part has taken over the musical part.
But also I think they've embraced the fans. And I think now the fans have too much influence on the show. And the fans are a tiny part of the audience. There are millions and millions of families and millions of people who watch just to be entertained. And yet I think too much of the show is produced for the fans.
Well, true, but the Eurovision core team has worked on this in the last years, because they wanted to keep the contest alive throughout the months. Because before, it was basically nobody was taking care of Eurovision apart from the previous 2 weeks. But with the fans, with the engaging of the fans, now the season starts again in September. This makes Eurovision huge on the internet. And
yes, I mean, you're right, but I'm not sure that's necessarily a good thing. I don't think that was necessarily a particularly great idea. The idea of coming together for that one night of the year was something that everybody looked forward to, and it was something that meant an awful lot to people. But now, as you say, there is 6 months, and then everyone's heard the songs 2 months before the contest, and it's very, I think it's too much. But I'm not now of the generation that is, they want to encourage to watch the contest. You know, this is the thing, we all turn into our fathers, and we all start thinking everything has moved on without us.
Don't say that. You said all together for one night.
Yes.
But there's someone missing.
This year, San Marino will not be in the final.
No, I mean, it was more a political note since a couple of years. A couple of countries are now taking part, has been knocked out from the EBU.
Yeah.
So it seems that the contest has lost a bit the potential role of peacemaker through the European countries.
That's an interesting point. It is very difficult. The standing that Russia and Belarus have in the world right now is very controversial. And I believe, I don't remember now exactly, but when the war in Ukraine broke out, some countries were saying, we will not take part if Russia takes part. And so it's a very difficult situation for the EBU to balance. I think they very sensibly try to avoid politics, but at the end of the day, they are a geopolitical organization, whether they want to be or not. And I think they probably, on balance, did the right thing in saying, you know, Russia, it's time. You know, we can't embrace you while this catastrophe in Ukraine, in the Eastern European, is going on. But I'm sure that was a very difficult decision for them to take. But they were almost pushed into it by countries saying, we won't take part if Russia takes part.
Yeah, and probably also for the high officials of the EU,
Yeah.
who knows.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there is a war going on between two countries in Syria, and apparently the EBU has not done anything to solve that issue.
This is very true. I mean, it wasn't a European war, but if you go back to 1982, the UK was staging the contest while they were at war with Argentina.
Yeah.
Now,
but I was referring to a more recent
No,
war.
there are more. I'm just using that as an example,
Yeah.
and certainly, and nobody took any notice then. Nobody said, "Oh, we're not coming to the UK because you're at war." But this is obviously a very European war. It's very between two European nations. So this is a bit different. But at the same time, it is not consistent.
Yeah, definitely. And 5 years away from San Marino, away from the Eurovision, and now you're back again.
Yeah.
You say the contest has changed, fans have taken more importance, the TV show has taken more importance, but you are here for one special reason.
I am, and I'm so. It's an honour. It's a genuine honour. You invited me back to come and announce the scores for San Marino at the big grand final. I've done it twice before, and it's just very humbling to be asked, and I'm very proud that you've asked me. Thank you. Well, pride is a wrong word, isn't it? That's not a good word, but it is very humbling, and I'm looking forward to it very much.
You are English?
I am English originally by birth, but not from Liverpool. I'm not a Liverpoolian. I'm a Londoner.
But you don't have an English passport?
No, not anymore. No, I am an American citizen, and I also, through my mother, I also have an Irish citizenship. So
nothing to do with England?
No.
Okay. But this year we are in Liverpool, we are in the United Kingdom, so you are the perfect person to represent us, to show, to say the votes during the final.
Well, it's good to have that link. I mean, yes, I'm not from Liverpool, but we will have that link between the UK and San Marino for those few minutes. It'd be very nice.
And unfortunately, San Marino will not be in the final. A comment about that?
I think it's a great shame. I mean, I'm curious as to, we've talked about this before, the effort that goes in is enormous, and it's a great privilege to take part. And for a tiny microstate, I can understand it. But then to be told before the final even happens that you have to go, I think it's very difficult, and I'm curious to ask you a question. You know, how does that feel within RTV? Because it's an awful lot of work, and it's very disappointing. And it's very disappointing for the group.
It is. Well, we were a bit prepared because we knew that the song was not really a Eurovision song. It didn't sound like a perfect Eurovision song.
But you say that, but then Australia, Slovenia, they had a very similar song, a very similar kind of act, and yet they did go through. Yes. But then Ireland was very similar as well, and Ireland got knocked out as well. So it's very hard to know what is a Eurovision formula these days. Yeah,
this is very true. This is the question I would love to do to you, but to make to you. But there are different reasons and answer. There is no one answer. No. There is no precise answer. There is no precise formula. Eurovision changes year after year. The comparison, the best comparison you can do with Eurovision is football.
Yes.
Don't expect the big countries to do the best football match, and don't expect to win until the last minute has passed.
That's a good analogy, but I think a better analogy, I look at it like an international beauty contest. Remember the days they used to have Miss Universe and Miss World. You cannot say Miss Italy is more beautiful than Miss San Marino. You can't. Yeah. It's all in your opinion. So you cannot say Germany's song is better than San Marino's song. It's all completely random.
True. But if you listen to Miss Italy, you hear Miss Italy, you expect to see a beauty rather than listening to Miss, let's say, Miss Venus or Miss Mars.
This is one of the reasons I think the UK have been doing very badly in Eurovision. Great expectation, which is not fulfilled.
Yeah.
And so people say, they look and they say, is that the best the UK could do? But if that had been the Slovakian entry, they'd have said, that's pretty good for Slovakia. Exactly. So it's very unfair. And of course, this year it was just the viewers, the televoters, no juries.
True.
And the diaspora has a big effect. you know...
We have no diaspora.
And you haven't got one. So we need to create one for you. We need to export everybody in San Marino for the Eurovision night, and they go to different countries and they call in.
We have 20,000 inhabitants, citizens abroad, mostly in the United States.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
But there are so few. In Europe, there are a few hundreds.
Well, I know all my friends in the USA were voting for San Marino, because this year you have the rest of the world vote.
Yes.
And I know my friends in the UK were voting for San Marino, but it's not enough.
What will you say? How will you present San Marino tonight during your moments, your window?
Well, I'm still practicing because I've got to get the Italian right, but I'm going to give a very warm welcome from San Marino to the rest of the world.
How would you say that?
Oh, don't ask me now because I haven't practiced. I know before I said it was cordiali saluti di San Marino, or da San Marino, but un caro saluto de San Marino. Is that right?
But I
need to practice a much
we
more.
have time. We have half an hour to
because it's UK this year, I don't have to learn another language. Because when we did Portugal, I did a little bit of Portuguese and I got it wrong. So. Yeah. I'm not good at languages.
You did it wonderfully. What can we do? We can say hello to the Picker Jacks. They did a great work.
They did. I mean, I thought they were a very charismatic band. They were very good-looking boys, and I think they really owned the stage. I don't know how much experience they have of international TV, probably very little. And yet they looked confident and they looked comfortable, and that's a very difficult thing to do, to walk out in all these thousands of people in this massive arena if you've not done that before.
Yeah. Well, they've been touring England for a month.
Yeah, that's a very good idea.
Yes, so they have the stage, they can feel the stage.
Yeah, and also they did a lot of the live events, Barcelona and all these other places, and that gets you familiar with the fans. But I think they gave us the best performance they could, and that's ultimately all you can ask for. And
I see a bright future for them.
Yeah.
I've been saying that since months because I believe in it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So what can we say? We can say hello to our viewers. Thank you very much for coming. Looking forward to your performance.
My performance? Well, I'm looking forward to it as well. Thank you very much for asking me. It's lovely to see you again. Lovely to be here at RTV. Thank you.